Hello, I'm your host, Jonathan Miller, and today I'm joined by Mark Hanchett, founder and CEO of NXU, ticker symbol NXU on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. Mark, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So would you like to tell our audience a little bit more about the company?
Yeah, so NXU is, we were formerly called Atlas, and it's pronounced NXU, spelled NXU. We are an energy company. We actually are the first U.S.-based, U.S.-owned manufacturer of battery cells that we're currently in mass production pilot manufacturing of today. That's actually going into pack solutions for customers. And NXU focuses on this future of energy with the introduction of renewable generation, right? Think solar, wind, and things like that. Combine that with energy storage out at the residential, commercial charging and infrastructure space. And this idea that the future is built on this abundant energy concept where energy becomes so cheap to produce and distribute and store, you'll pay for access and you no longer pay for consumption.
And this has always been the biggest obstacle with renewable energy is finding the storage capacity for it. What's your background? How'd you get involved in all this?
So I'm a mechanical engineer by education. Spent 10 years at a company actually called Axon, where I did a bunch of crazy projects around like the world's first 12-gauge taser projectile. So think like what cops carry in their hips in a 12-gauge shotgun shell. That was a lot of fun to do that. Kicked my career off doing that. And then I finished out there developing battery-powered cameras, sensor systems, wireless sensor technology, cloud services, mobility products, sort of a complete suite of technology services for law enforcement. Everything I've ever done has changed the world. And while I was doing that, I really started to get interested in the electric mobility space. And NXU, formerly called Atlas, but NXU is really born of this idea that this transition from internal combustion to electrification and this energy transition, it's going to happen, but we need the technology to accelerate that transition. And part of that is like the battery technology that we're developing and manufacturing here at NXU.
The field of energy and especially storage is really a rabbit hole, isn't it?
It is. It is. Like there's so many different paths and directions you can take, and we're really trying to stay focused on sort of storage, distribution, and building charging and infrastructure technology to make this transition seamless, whereas today it feels very painful. But with the right technology, we can really make that next big leap forward.
That's excellent. What would you say are NXU's competitive advantages?
So we are known for the company that developed an NMC-based battery cell and pack solution that can charge actually in 15 minutes. That is what we're most known for. So imagine plugging in your car, like if you did own a Tesla or any electric vehicle, imagine plugging that in and not waiting an hour to an hour and a half for it to charge in full. Like 0 to 100%, 15 minutes. So we've been doing that roughly since about 2018 when we built our first pack.
Wow. And what would be the complications be to like a power grid for something like that?
So that's where the challenge comes in. We can build the battery technology. It's really cool. We can demonstrate it. But then all of a sudden you don't have the infrastructure to support it. So if I take like a full-size pickup truck, 250 kilowatt hour battery pack, like massive, think Hummer EV pack, right? To charge that in 15 minutes, I need over a megawatt of power.
Wow.
That's 40,000 homes, right? Or, it's just this like massive amount of energy required to do it. So that infrastructure doesn't exist. And as we develop the technology, we realize, okay, we have to solve the other problem. So we're leveraging the cell technology and pack technology and some of the software developing, all the services that we're developing, including being the first company to do a above 1.2 megawatt charging solution and demonstration. And we're going to take that technology and start building the infrastructure side to support that. So rather than wait for utilities to catch up on the grid side, we're doing it in a way that we don't need the utilities to necessarily sort of rapidly accelerate the grid infrastructure to be able to support this transition.
Are you able to say when and where that demonstration will be?
Of the technology. So actually, if you get on our YouTube channel, you will see demonstrations of the charging technology, the battery technology. We explain all of it, how it works. We do live demonstrations of it. It's out there. It's public. We've been doing it for a long time.
That's awesome. And the YouTube would be NXU?
NXU, so get on nxuenergy.com and then go to some of our press pages or video pages. You can click there and it'll take you to that. Or if you get on YouTube, just look up NXU Inc.
Fantastic. And what would you say are the company's KPIs?
Our biggest performance indicators is always going to be whether or not we are able to, so we have production scaling capability to produce packs and solutions. The next big performance indicator for us is going to be hitting those customer milestones, those deliveries, that growth in that particular sector. Those are the things we're focused on right now. So are we scaling production at a rate that allows us to capture over 2 gigawatt hours of demand that we have currently today? So are we hitting those appropriate milestones? Are we spending appropriately to hit those particular milestones and not being wasteful, of course? And then are we effectively delivering against our customer expectations? So is that, we've developed this really cool technology, we're producing it. We're really focused on pack deliveries, customer deliveries, and then, of course, on the charging infrastructure side, we have some upcoming milestones around putting that stuff into the field, and we start building out that infrastructure piece.
It sounds like a lot of moving parts.
It is, but it's a lot of fun to do this.
If you have the capacity to manage it, more power to you.
Yeah.
But what's on the horizon for the company in the next 3 to 5 years?
Next 3 to 5 years is really going to be building out that energy storage, the renewable production side, and charging infrastructure piece. So imagine, and I'm not going to say 3 to 5 years, we're going to hit the milestones where we are delivering, say, energy to your home, energy to your business, right? Energy to charging infrastructure, but imagine charging infrastructure that is consistently performing for the EV space. 3 to 5 years, we're going to make that sort of realization happen. And then 10 years from now is the one I really want to focus on. And 3 to 5 years is a milestone step to 10 years when you no longer pay for consumption, you pay for access to energy. Remember how you used to pay for consumption of data?
Yep.
Now you pay for access. That is going to be the future of energy.
Excellent. And how is the company fostering innovation and staying ahead of any industry disruptions, especially like we had mentioned, power grids and power consumption as it relates, especially here in places like California?
So I think it's always important to realize that someone somewhere is always running to get ahead of you. And it's not always a big company that's going to do that. Sometimes it's the little guy in his garage, like me when I started. Almost burned it down at one point too, but it's the little guy in the garage that's running. It's important to remain focused, though, on where is the market going? What are the perceived upcoming needs? In our particular case, in the energy market you talk about utilities and infrastructure. We know those gaps exist. We know that it's going to take a long time to overcome those gaps. So what products can we deploy, whether it's batteries, maybe renewable generation? What products can we plug in that particular infrastructure space that sort of makes it agnostic to those other challenges that are out there, right? So the customer, the consumer, the commercial business, right, the operator, they don't have to worry about that. They don't have to think about it.
That's fantastic. And I can feel your passion when you talk about this topic. What's your main driver for growing your company culture?
The biggest driver for me is, I say this a lot. I don't want to build a 9-to-5 sort of like, listen, I come in, I punch the clock, right, and I do my little task, and then at the end of the day, I sort of go home. That's not what we're doing here. This is really an opportunity for anybody who is a part of the organization to do something that's big, that's grand, that's world-changing, that's disruptive. We're going to fundamentally shift the way humanity thinks about energy. We want people that are excited about that. We want to be excited about that every day, regardless of whatever challenge is in front of us.
Great. And is there anything else you'd like to share with investors before we exit out today?
No, keep watching us. We got a lot of fun milestones coming up. We've got a lot of cool stuff. We're on social media. We're out there. We're on podcasts. We talk about all this stuff constantly. But big milestones for New is going to be those customer deliveries, continuing that growth in that particular space, charging and infrastructure. We're going to do some really cool things on that this year. So keep paying attention.
Excellent. Mark Hanchett, CEO of New, ticker symbol NXU. Mark, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.